Napoleon's buttons.
You want to learn about caffeine?
Background. This is the molecular formula for caffeine, which is C8H10N4O2. And in a few seconds, you'll also see the structural formula for caffeine as well.
This is the structural formula for caffeine.
Caffeine is an alkaloid, a class of naturally occurring compounds containing nitrogen and having the properties of an organic amine base. That is why, in its pure form, caffeine is an intensely bitter and white powder. It is also odorless and is composed of long hexagonal prisms.
Here we see both two molecules being drawn. The one on the left is caffeine, the original, and then the one on the right is theophylline, a similar compound in structure, but it's lacking a CH3 group.
Theobromine is also very similar to caffeine and theophylline. Like theophylline, theobromine is also missing a CH3 group compared to caffeine.
Napoleon's buttons.
Tea, coffee, and chocolate are all stimulants. In specific, there are 4 substances in tea that are able to cross the blood-brain barrier to provide a stimulant effect. We have good old caffeine, which you can also get from coffee and soft drinks. Then we have 2 substances related to caffeine, theobromine and theophylline. These two have different structures.
These different structures account for different effects when consumed.
The discovery of caffeine was found by a young physician, a French physician by the name of Fredlib Ferdinand Runge, who was the first person to isolate and purify the white crystalline substance in the year 1819.
Relevant.
Chemistry.
The neurotransmitter adenosine decreases the rate of spontaneous nerve firings and slows down the release of other neurotransmitters in the body. Caffeine inhibits this release of adenosine in the body due to its very similar structural form and cell receptors. As a result of this physical structure, the receptor binds to the caffeine molecule instead of adenosine. As a result, the nerve cells start firing at a faster rate and are not slowed down because adenosine is being inhibited from binding to the receptor. Because of this, the user feels a sudden rush or buzz. However, this feeling will not last for long. Caffeine molecules are immediately broken down in a short duration of time by enzymes, and as a result, become no longer bindable to the adenosine receptors, therefore slowing down the rate of firing between the nerves. Because the caffeine molecules are no longer able to be binded to the receptor, an inflow of adenosine is seen, and as a result, the user feels a sudden exhaustion or crash because of this.
Tea time!
Caffeine-containing plants have existed since prehistoric times, but it is not clear if tea, cacao, or coffee came first. The origin of tea can be traced back to a Chinese legend over 5,000 years ago, when the mythical first emperor introduced boiling water with leaves for a more flavorful beverage. Some other legends suggest that tea came from northern India or Southeast Asia, but tea undoubtedly has had a large influence on Asian cultures.
Opium in low dosages were used in Chinese medicine for thousands of years before European imperialism. Once the addictive characteristics of opium were identified, the demand for opium in China shot up dramatically. During the imperialism era, England traded opium produced in Bengal to China in return for tea. Opium was eventually outlawed in China, but traders still managed to smuggle the drug into the country. Soon the demand for the commodity in the East drove Great Britain to start a whole network of trade and even fight in the first set of opium wars during the years 1839 to 1842.
The Opium Wars were started because European countries wanted commodities such as silk, spices, and teas.
This
Is
how
a
typical
drug
trade
went
down.
Napoleon's buttons.
Look how happy they are.
The transatlantic slave trade, often known as the Triangle Trade, connected the economies of 3 continents. The trade proceeded in 3 steps. The ships left Western Europe for Africa, loaded with goods, which were used to exchange for slaves. Upon their arrival in Africa, the captains traded their merchandise for captive slaves. Weapons and gunpowder were the most important commodities, but textiles, pearls, and other manufactured goods, as well as rum, were also in high demand. The exchange could last from 1 week to several months. The second step was the crossing of the Atlantic. Africans were transported to America to be sold throughout the continent. The third step connected America to Europe. The slave traders brought back mostly agricultural products produced by the slaves. The main products were sugar, followed by cotton, coffee, tobacco, and rice. As a result of this, a new complete network connected 3 continents and allowed for the trade and use of coffee in our world today. Napoleon's buttons.
The slave trade, in addition to contributing to the development of the United States, also aided in developing economies in South America, such as Brazil, because of the large demand of labor. In fact, coffee still remains the largest cash crop in Brazil today.
The physical effects of caffeine.
Accelerated heart rate.
Muscle contractions. Excessive tapping. Yo, Victor, let me borrow a pencil real quick?
Sure.
Hey!
Serious?
Yo, that's my symbol, bro. Hello. Hey, hyperactivity. Modern history.
Hey Victor, that's the wrong store. That's the right one.
This is Starbucks coffee, the epitome of caffeine consumption in our country today. Let's go take a look. Some of these facts about coffee are quite astounding.
Coffee statistics show that among coffee drinkers, the average consumption in the United States is 3.1 cups of coffee per day.
Other statistics show that 50% of the population, equivalent to about 150 million Americans, drink any type of coffee.
At the present time, there are approximately 24,000 coffee shops across the country.
Statistics even go further to show that approximately 50,000 coffee shops will open up within the next few years.
The average price for brewed coffee is $2.38.
Starbucks. So when thinking about the world today and Starbucks and how it's affecting our lives, I think of it as a cultural revolution in the sense that Starbucks has definitely become a place where like people come together, college students, CEOs, like everyone just comes together, talks over a cup of coffee, and definitely keeps the world running, right? So
People actually need coffee to go through their everyday lives because it's a drug and they need it to, keep that adenosine going.
no, yes, stop the adenosine going.
But the presence of coffee trees, because coffee grows on trees.
Really?
Just stop, it's so bad.
Okay, are we doing this?
Because, coffee grows on trees, we breathe oxygen.
Sorry about that, guys. As you might know, coffee grows on trees, but coffee trees can be very harmful to the environment because they drain the nutrients in the soil. Since coffee is one of the largest cash crops in the modern world, deforestation and overcropping are serious threats to our environmental well-being.
Napoleon's button.